What's good, my dear language learning master? And welcome to Natural Languages and specifically to a new interview of the Language Input podcast. And today I sit down with Bryan, my friend from South Africa who's now teaching English in Vietnam and at the same time teaching Zulu on YouTube, online. And yeah, today we're going to talk about the differences between teaching languages with the traditional grammar approach versus teaching with comprehensible input. We're going to talk about different new ideas to acquire a language the fun way as well, and much more. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in, and I really hope you enjoyed this new episode as much as I did. And yeah, let's go right into it. Let's go. All right. So hi, Bryan. Welcome to
Hello,
the
hello.
podcast.
Yeah, thanks, man, Alvaro. Yeah, good to see you again. Been a long time.
Yeah, because we actually, it's funny because I'm from Spain, you're from South Africa, I'm in Poland, you're in Vietnam. We met in France. It's a a sort of an international story.
Small world there, yeah.
Yeah, correct. All right. So yeah, like I said, first of all, welcome, and it's a real pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
And yeah, so tell us, like, first of all, tell us a little bit about your background, like I said, especially when it comes to languages.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I sort of fell into the language thing by mistake. I learned Zulu at university. My dad said, "You are going to university, whether you like it or not. You're going to get a degree." Oh, fine. So just thought, okay, fine, I'll do psychology. It sounds fun. And then we were at first year orientation. Everybody's going through their subjects of come and do, because I only knew it was like, okay, I'll do psychology. I had to choose 3 other subjects. So the accountants come in front of this auditorium full of first years, or 300, 400 first years, and the accountants come and try and explain, try and say, come and do accounting, and then they're boring everybody 1 + 1, whatever. And the drama people come in the front and they're like, come and do drama. And then this older white guy, big guy, with his socks pulled up and he's wearing khaki, comes to the front of the stage and he says, sanibonani nonke ninjani? isiZulu, deep farm isiZulu. And everybody in the auditorium just went mad. They're like, look at this guy, speaks such beautiful Zulu. So then I was like, yeah, I want to be like this guy. So studied Zulu at varsity, learned Zulu through studying grammar rules and stuff, but learned most of my acquired Zulu through just conversations with people. I take whatever we learned in the day and just went and broke it on whoever I could find, and like just said stuff at them, and then they'd speak back, and I picked up most of my Zulu that way. Yeah, and then I taught Zulu for a while, also teaching the grammar way. And one day I had a class the next morning, and I was checking out, just looking at language things, and I came across Crashin online, and I watched this thing, and something like dropped. I was like, we don't learn languages the way I'm teaching them. I've got a class tomorrow, and what I'm doing is not helpful. So I'm freaking out, like, I can't teach like this now. I can't do this. I can't. This is against my, when he Christian speaks in German, he said, if you understood what I just said, I've done everything necessary to teach you German. Boom. Watching more Christian videos. Come Christian, I teach now. How must I do this? And came across TPRS and Ben Slavik's channel, especially. And Ben Slavik very kindly invited me to France. And what was that? 2016.
Yep.
Yeah. So I went to the TPRS which language conference in France and met you there, Alvaro. Yeah, and since then, well, like started implementing TPRS stuff before then, but the conference was just amazing. Just learning all these different languages and finding out all these very cool ways of providing comprehensible input to students.
Right.
So yeah, and I've been having fun with that in my Zulu teaching, just trying to find materials and give them to students in a way that they understand, and just trust that in the comprehensible input sort of thinking, that if you understand it, it comes in, it's acquired by the language acquisition device subconsciously. There's some magic that happens. We don't need to learn the stuff anymore, just have fun. Yeah, and that's been my Zulu journeys, which is very cool. It's been very fun. So yeah, that's
awesome. So yeah. You mentioned that you started teaching Zulu with the traditional approach first, and then you have the aha moment, right?
Yes, grammar. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you feel the difference? I mean, in your students' experience right away, like could you see that right away? Like they were having so much fun as opposed to previously, and the amount of Zulu they were acquiring.
Yeah, well, I mean, just my own experience through learning Zulu through grammar, right, was I could sort of speak Zulu at the end of 3 years of varsity. But a dear friend of mine said to me once, he's like, Bryan, you speak Zulu well, but you sound like a machine gun. All this English is all on the beat. But isiZulu usikhuluma kanje. It's a bit of a song and a flow to it. So my pronunciation was way off because I'd read it, and it's just everything's Zulu grammar is very nice for learning through grammar learning, because it's very modular. You stick things onto each other, and there's very little that changes. So this is what was in my brain: this plus this plus this, and this is what I'd be doing when trying to have conversations with people. Because I'd say hello, and then not listen to what they're saying, because no, I have now got to put recent past compound tense plus the object plus the verb. Okay, and I can say my sentence. Bengifunda izolo. I was studying yesterday, but I haven't listened to what they've just been telling me. And I say, I was studying yesterday. People are like, okay, this has got nothing to do with what I was saying. Great. And then they, say something else, but I'm not listening again. Okay, this plus this. So that was my experience. And luckily I didn't teach very long with the grammar way. But yeah, the first lesson, I remember the first lesson I taught that next day that I was talking about, that I just took a clip from Lion King. Zazu was the character, and we just spoke about Zazu and just acted it out, and it was chaos. But
good chaos.
Fun.
Good chaos.
It was good chaos, I hope. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
So definitely, like, yeah, as you say, like the change. I mean, the one thing from Krashen's, I think Krashen's quote as well, was a bad CI class is always better than a good grammar class.
Correct.
Which is very cool. Yeah.
Because it's way closer to real life acquisition of language, right? Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was when you were talking about your experience with Zulu, that you just say hello to somebody, and while they were speaking, you were trying to consciously think about what you want to say next, and you're not paying attention to what they're saying. I mean, it sounds,
it's not the point of
it sounds crazy, but that's pretty much what we all did after grammar classes, right?
Yes, yeah.
Surprisingly enough, we didn't understand what the other person was saying because we weren't paying attention at all.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. We didn't have the listening practice, with the listening, getting used to that first from the input, and yeah, exactly. I was just not paying attention. it's crazy. Yeah, so now, since after the Zulu thing, I've been in Vietnam now for 2 years teaching English, and teaching back to not quite grammar, but now we teach like, you know, classrooms full of kids. So it's more, so now it's just, oh, it's fine in the beginning because they teach you okay, there's two options of what the vocab word is, and you say, is it A or B? And the kids choose, and you press a button. It makes a nice noise. Yes, it's the right one. You know, in the beginning, you're getting used to the method or whatever, and you're getting used to kids. So it's fine. It's a challenge. It's a new challenge to do something else. But very quickly, my soul started crumbling and withering. There's no stories coming out, and it's just it's just such a crazy. It's a massive industry here in Vietnam. It's English. Learn English.
Right.
And it's all less teacher talking time is the buzzword, more student, sort of getting students to come up with a language and talk to each other.
Oof.
And that is the definition of a pidgin language. This is not acquiring a real language. This is Tarzan, me Jane, you Alvaro, me eat banana, or whatever. It's just
right.
the definition of the wrong way to learn a language.
Right.
And there's been a big like confidence knock because there's this massive industry, and they're all saying, no, less teacher talk time and this. And I've been feeling like, well, do I really have the what's the word? The goal to be like, no, this your way is not quite helpful, so
right.
So it's been just very interesting to see this way of doing languages, and I think there's a big gap for spreading the word of this natural, more vital and more human way to learn languages. It's just be if more teachers taught this way here, jobs would be a lot more job satisfaction, and kids would just learn better. I want to start teaching people this technique. I need to just practice it some more with the kids because I've been out of practice. Like I've been doing it with Zulu, but teaching adults is easy. Everybody's there because they want to be there. And we just check out interesting newspaper articles or whatever, just make it comprehensible with embedded readings and little clips, and we do very narrow listenings with my Zulu students. I think with classrooms and kids, especially now, I'm really checking out Ben Slavic's stuff. I've subscribed to his Patreon. He's sort of got like a discussion board going there. It used to be on his website, but now with Patreon, it's nice because as soon as he posts something, you get a notification. You can go and check it out and just be part of a discussion, which is always very useful to just see what people are saying on topics. So I've got his new Ultimate CI book, which is fantastic for just a whole system for what to do in class. So I'll be checking that out. That'll be my new religion. I'll be like, okay, what are we doing in class? Because of teaching English, lesson plans and stuff, we need to have a whole bunch of things set up, and it's just it's crazy to see the other teachers killing themselves doing these lesson plans and making PowerPoints and content for each lesson. You think you got an hour and a half lesson and you spend an hour planning each lesson. It's just rather plan the technique and the understanding. You plan that properly, and then you know what to do in the lessons. And I don't mean not plan at all. Like it's still plan, that make materials and stuff that you can use again and again. with these movie talks and very narrow listenings and embedded readings that you can use at different levels. So if you have an embedded reading of, or they say a very narrow listening of a scene from Iron Man, this is what I'd like to do, is just have that, make an embedded reading of it, summarize it and stuff, and then use that for all the levels. And obviously with the younger guys, just simple questions. With the older guys, you just discuss more in detail. So yeah, so that's my dream for teachers, is to learn the method and enjoy the class rather.
Yeah, in the end, if you teach a teacher how to teach, you're gonna be helping.
Exactly.
You're gonna be helping more students.
Oh man, I like that. And to fish. Exactly, I like that. I'm gonna steal that.
I was I was thinking about your experience in Vietnam that you talked about. And I think that the idea of having the kids communicate in the language as soon as possible, first of all, it's a crazy idea, because that's not how the language works. How the language mechanism works.
That at the end. Yeah.
Right, correct. It just, again, you just have to look at kids and their native language. They just listen to the language for a long time, right? But I think because of the traditional grammar approach, we think we need to practice in order to acquire, in order to learn the language, right? In order to get better, in order to improve. So that's why we're trying we're trying to communicate. We're trying to produce output from pretty much day one, which is, we all know it's impossible. So that's why you get that machine gun speech that you were talking about.
There you go. Yeah, you're treating language like a sport where you just kick goals all the time. There's not, But anyway, and another quote, what did I hear? I think from Ben Slavick's book, he's saying teaching language through grammar is like learning football without the ball. I like that one.
Good one.
Learning grammar without the whole picture. You got your football, learn about football, but not know anyway.
Right. Yeah, to me the craziest part is just like we're not kids, so we don't have to talk to adults. If you're teaching adults, we don't, or even if they're kids, they're not like babies. So if you're teaching kids or adults, you don't need to talk to them as you would talk to a baby, but it's a process that works 100% of the time. I don't know why I don't know when this whole idea started, the whole idea of teaching linguistics, which is what it is, right? It's just crazy.
I think it makes like logical sense. It's a logical system, and it makes logical sense that we've discovered that languages, we can break languages into these parts, and we can sort of make rules. And it's like, we've got these rules, let's just learn the rules and we have the language. Easy.
Right.
That's how that's just my understanding of it. And it's a logical system for a logical thought for a logical system, but doesn't work.
Right.
It seems to work, which is the danger, because
you can measure it, right?
It does, and you
have goals,
it works just enough, so you learn this rule. Okay, I am in an ing rule or whatever, and then you tell the student, okay, say something, and I like, guys, if it didn't work at all, that would be best, because we just forget about it. But it works just enough. It works.
Right.
But that's what I've been enjoying, checking out other teachers speaking about this technique, is it gets back into the soul part of being human. It gets back into the mystical and the magical, because we don't really know how languages are learned, or exactly what parts. We have Chomsky talking about the language acquisition device, which is we don't know exactly the mechanisms of what happens. And so just getting back into the mystical and the just feed the language acquisition device with compelling, comprehensible inputs and just have fun. And then I enjoy that.
Yeah. Again, which is
Oh.
the way we all acquire our native languages, right? And yeah, and actually when we compare adults with babies, I mean, the way we acquire a native language versus the way we adults learn a second language, I don't think there's a I mean, I don't think the problem is we learn languages differently. I think the problem is when we're adults, we just have the ability to consciously control the process, which messes up with our journey, right? So it's not that you can learn a language after a specific age, is that you learn to learn it the wrong way, right?
Exactly.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, this conscious mind gets in the way. I like that. That is exactly what I see with teaching older people, and it just sticks too much in the conscious mind. Whereas teaching the kids, like they pick things up so quickly because they're just free. They don't care. They'll say whatever. They don't care about if it sounds right or not. They've got no effective filter is still low as a kid. They
just want to
just going for it. Exactly. They're just going to go for it. Adults who now be shy and like, I'm going to say it wrong. Man, I'm gonna.
Like we pay attention to specific verb endings, to conjugations. Like we ask people, what word do you use? Why do you use that word? And I mean, it's a mess. But I mean, the good news is over time, like I'm saying that myself, like right now when I'm watching a series or a movie or whatever it is in a foreign language, I'm way more relaxed when it comes to what I was talking about. Like I'm watching the series, and before, like some couple of years ago, even after being totally convinced by this idea, I would watch a series or a movie or whatever I'm watching, depending on my level, and I was still paying conscious attention to the specific words, if that makes sense. But now with time, I've learned to relax more and focus totally on the message, on communication, which is the most important thing, on understanding what's going on in the story, in the series or whatever it is. And I'm okay with not understanding specific words or with not paying conscious attention. So I do think, once you get used to it, or with time, with practice, quote unquote, you get better at it, and you kind of lower your affective filter, like you said, and you kind of forget about the conscious part of it, right? Kind of.
Yeah, I struggle with that because I like having a brain workout when I learn languages. So I tend to get stuck on those specifics, and then like, it's too much hard work. It's just watch or whatever. But I know exactly what you're saying. Like, as you learn languages, so everybody says to me, "Are you good with languages?" And like, it irritates me a bit because everyone is good at languages. This is what we do as humans: is we acquire language, and we take it for granted that everybody's first language is basically at the same level, from a farmer to president. And there might be some academic language or whatever, but that's just the basic language abilities are the same. And so, so we're not good at languages. We might be practiced in learning languages, and we know what works for us. And this is another thing I love about the process. There's the CR way of thinking of things, is that most CI teachers are language learners themselves.
Right.
They're learning, and mostly to learn the technique to teach by. So might check out someone else's class who's teaching in Polish or whatever, and it's to learn the technique. But the technique is so effective that you learn the language as well.
Right.
Whereas here, especially in Vietnam, no one's learning other languages. And if you were to try, love to set up a challenge where teachers, have a race or something to proficiency or whatever. I don't know. You like go over your output technique or whatever, like word list and all of that, and I'll go for my input technique, and we just see what happens in a month or whatever. I don't know. Just have
how much fun I'm having versus how much fun you are, right?
How much fun. Exactly. Yeah. Or just to like teach and just have a workshop or something where I teach. Find just have a bunch of people and say, okay, find 2 languages that no one knows. I know isiZulu would probably be one of them. And then something else. And then just have 2 20-minute example lessons. Be like, okay, now we're going to do a class with this vocab words, and we're going to do these. I'm not going to talk because teacher talking time should be low, and I should be doing TPR, and I should be getting you to talk. And again, it's for in a classroom full of kids, this that way of teaching does get kids jumping up and running around. You do the games, or people hit vocab words, so it becomes more of a sport than a language learning thing. And so I can see why people use it, but and then have another 20-minute lesson where we just check out a story. Yeah, man, changing paradigms and perspectives. Everybody thought the world was flat, or that the sun went around the earth not too long ago. Well, the West did, at least.
Until they didn't.
So they didn't. They're like, yeah.
Right, correct.
Hopefully.
I was just thinking about what you said about people telling you that you're just good at languages. I get exactly the same thing, and I think it's just the easy way out, because
exactly.
When I tell someone that I speak 7 languages, they immediately think, okay, you must be good at languages, you must be talented at languages. That's the easy way out, because you think I'm good at languages and you're not, so that's it, and end of the problem. So
exactly. So it's not. I don't have to do anything.
Like I'm talking about it as many times as I can, or as frequently as I can. But it's not about talent. Like, I'm not talented for languages. I am super passionate, which always helps, of course. And then once you start learning other languages, the one advantage that I can see is that if I've already acquired French and Portuguese, and I, as a native Spanish speaker, if I start learning Italian, which I did, a lot of the words I'm going to be able to understand because of the languages that I already speak, as opposed to someone from Japan, for example, right, who's learning Italian. His first Latin-related language,
no cognates or whatever. Then
exactly. So it's not about it's not about the fact that I'm going to be able to start communicating sooner than them. No, it's that if I'm getting 2 hours of input on a specific day, probably an hour, 50 minutes are going to be comprehensible for me, as opposed to just an hour for another person, right? And that helps, but it's not about talent in the sense of that, the process is going to be faster for me because I have some crazy talent for languages, which, like you said, it is. There's no such a thing. It's just we all acquire our native languages. It worked for every single one of us, whatever the language, right? Because again, babies are not born with specific language chip in their brains, or
that it's all already there. Right. They need to get it.
If they're born in China, they're exposed to Chinese, to Mandarin or Cantonese, and so they learn the language. If they're born in South Africa, like you were. You can learn English, Zulu, many examples.
Whatever.
It was Spanish for me, but I wasn't born with Spanish in my head. I just was exposed to it, right?
Yes.
And it's just I keep talking about it because I'm convinced like we can all learn any language, and just we
Mm.
all have that
Mm.
ability, that language mechanism in our brain. It's just about the way you do it. And
yeah, and I think that
yeah, go ahead.
I was just to say that like the way you do it, and the one thing I've found exciting when I learn a language is just getting used to setting input for myself at that optimal level where you're interested and it's comprehensible, but you'll never know all of what's coming in, but just so not that we're good at languages, but we might be good at finding the right input, or asking getting our teachers to teach us in that optimum range where you're understanding 90%, and it's interesting, and you're just getting that interested lights, brain activated, brain all lit up, getting into that zone, and just staying in that zone for as long as possible, and just getting your hours of input in that zone is, that's what I'd say is the thing to practice.
I find that if you're passionate about languages like we are, you're always, I mean, you're willing to try different things, to look for different resources. That I'm talking about my case. I'm always, if I'm learning a new language, I try to find a resource that's comprehensible and interesting for me. And if I'm struggling with it, I'm willing to try again and again and again until I find that golden resource. So it's, it can be helpful in that way, but definitely not about talent. Like I won't get tired of repeating this. It's not about talent, right? And how's your Vietnamese going?
It's getting there. Like I think again, like it's a totally different language. So there's no cognates. There's some cognates from French, like café for coffee and stuff, and but again, they sound totally different. So I've been getting, like, lockdowns have been good for that, for just trying to find resources. There's this one, what's it? Language Reactor is an extension on Chrome. Oh my gosh, must try this out. It's
Language Reactor.
Yeah. Yes, I think it was called Subtitles for Netflix, and now it's called Language Reactor. And oh my word, it's so good because you can display 2 subtitles at once from Netflix. So, so again, with Vietnamese, it's difficult. Again, because we've lived in different parts of Vietnam. So in Hanoi, we lived in Hanoi in the beginning, and I was fine. I could, like, understand lots of stuff in Hanoi. I could, like, I think the accent's a bit easier there. And then we moved to the center of Vietnam, and here I struggle to hear because it's a whole different accent. These languages would probably be classified as different languages in another part of the world, because they're really different sounding and quite a few different words. So now again, like, most of the resources on Netflix and stuff is in the Southern dialect, which is again different. So that's actually the dialect I'm studying. Is the Southern one, because that's Peppa Pig and all this great stuff is in the Southern one. But at the moment I'm at the point where I feel I can really make nice gains with, again, with lockdown ending, just being outside and talking to someone. Can sort of break whatever comes out and just, like, throw something and then just listen, like, okay. So I can get by, but it's not like French or Spanish or whatever, which is much easier to learn because I just Big Bang Theory, put it on, watch it, rewatch it, sort it.
That's the thing. When you're starting out with a language, you're not gonna be able to understand super complex and interesting resources like Big Bang Theory, like you said,
exactly,
as opposed to learning Spanish or
yeah.
French. And when you said that you're watching with two set of subtitles, isn't that
again
mess for you? Or
well, again, like to find easily comprehensible stuff is very difficult because there's no cognates. So I have to translate stuff to find out what's happening first, at least. So just watch it, just to you know, I can watch something and see what's happening, but it doesn't like link up with the language for me in Vietnamese because it's so different. So I haven't spent enough hours for, you know, on it, because I haven't quite found the golden thing. So I've been doing a bunch of Peppa Pig. For me is the golden resource for language learning. That and Harry Potter. But again, like Peppa Pig is a bit like, oh no, like, you know, George's shirt doesn't fit. Oh no.
And you know all the episodes by heart.
Exactly, yeah. So it's been an interesting one, where, you know, with French and Spanish, you put on Harry Potter movies or whatever, you just go for it. But Vietnamese, I need to just put in the hours. I'm at a fine level now, like, but I still want to be just communicating freely.
Okay, so you're watching a series in Vietnamese with both English and Vietnamese subtitles. That's the idea? Or?
So the way I'd work it is with this language reactor, it just plays one subtitle and then pauses at the end of the subtitle so that they're still both visible. So just play it through, have a read through the English, whatever, just to get the meaning, and then there's a hotkeys for all these things, and you play it again straight away to then read along with the Vietnamese or just listen to it again. And again, that's for more for like series and stuff in Vietnamese, because there's another irritating thing is that a show dubbed into Vietnamese has different audio and different subtitles. The audio and the subtitles don't match because they would have, I don't know why, but very irritating. So dubbed stuff doesn't match up. So I want to listen and read what I'm listening to. So I have to do it that way around. But, you know, I've had a teacher for, you know, during November and that. So we had like 3 lessons a week, and I really went through some good stuff. You know, just transcribing stuff, and I taught her how to circle. That's my favorite way to learn a language, is to teach a teacher how to teach me. So I taught her how to circle, and we did, you know, checked out all these kids' books and stuff, and made, which is very helpful, made voice recordings. If anybody needs a Vietnamese teacher, then I'll send you email. So they are made massive gains. But then again, it's just not sustainable to very expensive to do it so much. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was asking about subtitles because I'm not a fan of using subtitles in your native language. Like I'm okay with using target language subtitles because, but you know, again, with Vietnamese, you probably it's probably a struggle to find comprehensible resources at the beginning, like you said. So you gotta get creative, right? Because if a native English speaker is learning Spanish, I don't think having subtitles in English is going to help them, because their brain is going to go with what it knows best, which is English, right? So you're reading the English subtitles and you're understanding what's going on because of it, but you're not really sort of linking or connecting the words. I mean the language with the
sounds meaning.
Exactly, the sounds with their meaning. Exactly.
Yeah.
as opposed to, I mean, if possible, I like to do it the natural way. Let's put it that way. So
exactly,
no subtitles at all, if possible. But if you're struggling to understand what's going on, target language subtitles, and I'm okay with it. But not our native language. I mean, not subtitles in our native language, because we're not really understanding what's going on. We're not really understanding the sounds in the target language, but rather the subtitles in our own native language. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, and ideally, it would be you'd have a bunch of fascinating resources that perfectly match your ability as you grow. But yeah, I just haven't found, for me, put Big Bang Theory, the Big Bang Theory, that's fascinating for me, and I know it, so I'll watch it and pick up stuff that way. But what I've also been practicing, like one thing I'd like to do one day is be like a simultaneous translator or interpreter. You hear this thing and you speak another language. So that's what I do with my native language level, native subtitles, is I've gotten good. That's why I like using language learning as a mental workout, just because it's fun for me. I like, it's nice to find very nice, comprehensible, interesting stuff just for its sake. But I haven't been able to do that. So I've just, slowed the audio down and read and listen at the same time. It's very brain intensive, but it's a way to acquire enough of the language to then check out other resources. So that's what I did with French. French before we went to the conference, actually in France. I was like, okay, I'm going to try this technique out. So that's what I did with the Big Bang Theory and subtitles. Just like reading along with my native subtitles, but listening at the same time. And it's very difficult, but it's a more of a brain intensive approach. And I just like using my brain. I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, especially if you're zoning out. Yeah. Like, but yeah, so that's just the way I like to do it, just to make things.
Yeah, I guess it's always it's harder to find resources in Vietnamese as opposed to English, Spanish, French,
especially
German, right?
Yeah, and with your channel and like the just talking about games and stuff, and the amount of nice input there is like that, that's perfect for learning. Like, it's just so good. Like, I'm really impressed with what you're doing. But yeah, please learn Vietnamese and do the same thing in Vietnamese for me.
Not on my list. Not on my list yet.
Yeah, man.
So so do you have any language that you like to learn right now, or you're focusing on Vietnamese, improving your French, Spanish?
Yeah, it's mostly my priorities are just improving my Zulu mostly, because that's been I feel very responsible, because it's not my native language. So I know how to teach it well, but I just feel very responsible for you studying it a lot, just reading lots. Actually read George's Secret Key to the Universe. It's a Stephen Hawkins book
Zulu?
that was translated into Zulu. Yeah, it was translated. It was mad. So that was a great thing. But then again, like, yeah, again, like the and then the next thing I'm interested in with is Zulu culture and beliefs, especially the beliefs in the ancestors and stuff.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of podcasts and YouTube channels on that. So I enjoy just like checking out. It just boggles my brain that we're all human, but the way the things we believe in that are just so different. it's just you know, people who believe, who you know, have the ancestors in high regard. It's just such a different reality to the you know, more westernized people in South Africa. There's just these two different worlds that trying to get along. It just fascinates me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, but I mean, I would like to get back into, you know, checking out some Japanese or something I'm just starting out with, just to get back, because that's for me as a language teacher. My favorite is being in that student, just being put back in my place. Like, this is it's tricky to get the right to pitch input at the right level for your students, and you find that out through learning another language. Like, I didn't understand that. When I teach, I should do it differently. So
right. Yeah, like you get to know what really helps you out as a language student, so you can replicate that with your students. Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely. Like, you know, you're attending Japanese classes, let's say, and you know your teacher's using a lot of gestures, and that's helping you out a lot. So, I'm actually gonna do that myself in my classes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what was so useful with Agen, the conference in France. Like, just checking out these different. I mean, I went to the Daniel Dubois. I think Judith's son. I went to his Breton class, and I mean, that's years ago, and I still remember some words. And if I read some, I'd probably remember. I've read the stories we did. Like, I read through the stories years ago. I found my old folder, my Agen folder, and read through the stories, and like understood this stuff. It was mad. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
acquisition versus learning.
Go ahead. Yeah.
You say?
No, I was gonna say that I still remember a couple of words in Zulu from your class.
No ways. Hey?
Umuzi.
Oh my gosh.
Word for tree.
4 years. Yeah. Umuzi.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Talk about.
What was it, like a 15-minute demo? 15-minute demo?
Yeah.
Umuzi, and I remember the word for no that is impossible to pronounce for me, like the sound. Yeah.
Exactly. It's too much too. I mean,
I can't do it. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I still remember that 5 years later from a 15-minute demo, and it is here. And I remember Anne's story in Indonesian about a butterfly.
Yeah, puku or something. What?
There you go. Yeah.
What is it? Oh my gosh, remember that.
Yeah, it's crazy how it sticks here because of the context, because of comprehensible input. You understanding what's going on. You understanding that the butterfly, it's I don't know. I don't remember the exact.
I can't. Yeah.
I do remember Anne doing this gesture for the butterfly.
Yes.
Remember? It's just it all connects in your mind, and it sticks there. It just context and comprehensible input. It's just that's all you need, right?
Man. Yeah, we just need to remember those moments.
And I remember was it Sharkain, which is dragon in Hungarian?
Dragon or something. Yes. Go. Oh my gosh.
And things like that they just pop out in my mind, like
yes,
like crazy.
Hey.
Cool. So
it's crazy.
So you've pretty much answered this before, but so if you were to start a new language from scratch, what would you do? Would you just go with Peppa Pig or a native teacher? Or
yes, I would. Well, a native teacher would be great as well, but I think the best approach would be just no subtitles or target language subtitles, and just go for it. Yeah, and then to sort of complement that, a native teacher that I can teach how to teach, because I'm very particular. I'm a very bad. irritating student, as I'm sure. Like, but I mean, like my teacher, like she was amazed at when time came for output. She was like, "Where? How did you learn the grammar of Vietnamese?" Like, she's like, "I didn't teach you where to put words. How, like, your grammar is better?" And she said, "My grammar is better than her other students, who she's teaching grammar." So I just fun moments like that, like, or like, yeah, because I'm doing the right way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I was talking with Anna in the previous episode and that fortunately we're helping spread the word a little bit, like little by little. So there's more and more channels on YouTube and that teach the language with comprehensible input, like for German. I mean, to all sorts of languages.
There's lots, yeah.
There's a couple of them.
Lots of Chinese.
Yeah, a couple of them Chinese, Japanese. So we're getting more people to jump into it. So
yeah,
if you want to learn Japanese, like you said, or whatever the language, it's more likely you'll find someone on YouTube who's teaching this way with case stories or with simple stuff that you can understand and help you access more complex resources, right? Which is probably like the go-to resource if you're starting from scratch, because they do have like content for complete beginners, which is actually what we need.
Which is perfect. Yeah. I've been amazed. Like I've been checking out the scene for a while, but like getting back into it properly now, I'm just amazed at how much is out there and how many conferences have been, you saved online and sold as video lessons, and it's really, 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 there's lots of stuff now. It's really, really cool. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's because that's what you need at the beginning, right? Like you're starting from scratch with a language that has nothing to do with the languages that you already speak, like say Japanese, like you said. Having someone create content for total beginners, that's going to help you get to a point in which you can start accessing more complex resources. Like I said, that's probably the toughest part of it, of learning the language, that the initial part in which you can't really rely on yourself. I mean, on consuming content yourself, because even the easiest things like Peppa Pig are not comprehensible yet. So that's
been exactly my thing with Vietnamese. Like with language, I see that it becomes hyperbolic very quickly, but it takes a long time in that beginning phase just to build up that bank of acquisition to access stuff that you are interested in, because everybody's different, and so it's hard to cater for everybody's interests with your language class, unless you're one-on-one or so and there is actually there's a lovely channel, a Vietnamese channel, that I've been checking out, which has got quite a few resources, just a story, not explicitly CI stuff, but just nice stories. Again, they're subtitled, so I've used the subtitles just the first time through to check what's going on, and then just re-listen to these things, washing dishes, just re-listen to the stories, which is another like powerful thing in this way, is that your ability or tolerance for checking out materials again and again, because it's a story, it's interesting, but you've got your same word list. You can read it once and be like, I don't really want to do that again. But
perfect.
Cool, man.
So that was super interesting. Before I forgot actually. Like if there's anybody interested in learning Zulu, you've got your YouTube channel, your project, which is Zamani Zulu, right?
Yeah, boy, Zamani Zulu.
Yeah, boy. I remember that one.
It's a yeah, boy. Yeah, there we go. Right. Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks overall.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to chat with you, and
so good, man. Yeah, it's been good to catch up. Yeah,
perfect. and yeah, interesting stuff. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. And as I'm always saying, any question, any comment, any opinion, just let us know in the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube or any other platform that you're listening to, if podcast, whatever it is. We're here to help.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Alvaro, for having me. It's an honor.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
All right. See you soon, man.
See you, man.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.